Hello, computer science geeks. It's time to move on to section 9.2, where we're going to learn to interact with superclasses. I know what you're thinking. It's what I think. Every day I interact with a superclass. Yep, that is you. All right, what have we learned so far? Before we get here, we need to make sure that we understand that we can use inheritance using the extends keyword. We do inheritance so that we can reuse code. And not only that, we're not just bottled into using exactly what our superclass does, but we're allowed to do overrides and even extend the class by adding new methods that our superclass doesn't have. And of course, none of this makes sense if you haven't figured out what superclass and subclass means. So all that is in section 9.1. I hope you can have that down before we move on. All right, let's look at our daily goal. Today, we're going to learn how to interact with the superclass methods. We're going to use a super keyword. In other words, we're going to learn how to interact with the superclass itself. So let's use a little bit of analogy. Let's just say, oh, I don't know, maybe I play Final Fantasy. And in there we have a combatant, and then we have a hero, and then we have an enemy. Well, rather, the hero is a combatant, and our enemy is a combatant. So when I draw it here, you can see that these arrows reflect the object inheritance, the class inheritance. So I know that my hero is a combatant. It extends the combatant class. And you can see that each of these classes have something unique to them. So the hero class has an item inventory and it has a special attack. It attacks with a value of 5. That's the attack value it can do, which happens to be 2 more than a regular combatant. And the enemy, which extends the combatant, has experience and gold, and it attacks with a value of 4, which happens to be just 1 more than the regular combatant. Okay, so let's say that we want to increase all the attacks. So before, where this value here was 3, it's now 5. And this was 4, it's now 6, and this is 2, it's now 7. This is still 2 more than here, and this is still 1 more to there. If we wanted to decrease all the attacks, you know what we'd have to do? Well, if we had written it like before, we'd have to go through and replace every single line. So, okay, not every single line, the lines that are highlighted. The 3 lines, we'd have to replace those. What do you think of that? We'd have to edit there, and there, and there. And I say, there's got to be a better way. I don't like doing that. Too much maintenance, not gonna do it. There is a better way. So what we can do is we can actually interact with the superclass. So whereas this value, when we update this to 5, we could have originally coded our enemy to do the super attack plus 1. That doesn't mean its attack is better than, well, it is better, it's 1 better. This was 1 better. But what we're doing is we're asking, hey, superclass, what is your attack value? And then I'm going to do 1 better than that. And the hero, in its attack, can again ask the superclass, what is your attack value? And I'm going to do 2 better than that. So whenever I need to update the attack values, I only have to edit it in one place. Much, much better. That's like Zen-like. That's just so cool. So we do this using the super keyword. It allows us to access the methods or even the constructors of our parent class. So let's say, for example, we have an animal class, and it has a method called speak. So what I could do is I could, I don't know, I could have my animal speak and it would say Hodor, just as an example. That didn't come from anywhere. And then I have a dog class that extends the animal class. And when it speaks, I want it to do additional stuff. So I can have it do the animal speak plus what a dog does. So it would say, if I were to have a dog and I were to say, speak, speak, dog, speak. Okay, I would only tell it to speak once. If I told a dog to speak, it would say Hodor and then bark. It would say both because I called the superclass method speak. It's going to do what the animal class does, and then it will also do what a dog does. It'd be weird to see a dog say Hodor, but you know, it's just an example. So let's return back to our employee class. Now you guys remember how we had a regular employee and secretaries and marketers and lawyers and stuff. So what if we wanted to get everyone a $10,000 raise, right? Which is kind of like we just did for the attack value. But now we want to make it so that a regular employee makes 50,000, a legal secretary makes 55,000, and marketers make 60. Okay, so you're going to have to modify the code to make this change. You might have to go in, okay, you will have to go in. You go into the employee class, and then you're going to change how much the salary is, $50,000, right? It was 40,000, now it's 50,000. Are we done? Not quite, right? We're not quite. We're not done because we still have to override the get salary methods, or we have to change the get salary methods that were already overridden in the other classes, right? So we have to go into the legal secretary class, which extends secretary until it return 55,000. Then we have to go into marketer class that extends employee until to return 60,000. That's a lot of code change. I'm tired. I can't even say it all without stumbling over my tongue. How are you expected to type it all? That's just craziness. You might even forget a class, right? The maintenance is just outrageous. But what we can do is in our legal secretary class, we can say, you know what? I know that a legal secretary makes 5,000 more than a regular secretary. So I'm going to get my base salary. I'm going to call my superclass, which is going to go up to the secretary, not the employee. It's going to go to the secretary class. And it's going to get the salary for that. And then it's going to add $5,000 to that and return it. All right, so now I want you to go in. I want you to modify the lawyer and the marketer class to also use the super keyword, super dot keyword. Did you already? I was pretty fast. I didn't even show a pause button. All right, this is how you would do it, right? If you recall, a lawyer, when it extends an employee, it gets an additional 5 days of vacation. An additional 5 days. That means if my employee class suddenly gets 20 days of vacation, my lawyer gets 25 days. No matter what you do to the employee class, this one will get 5 more than the regular employee. And then when we go to the marketer class, we would have it get $10,000 more than the regular employee. So what did we learn? Besides that I stumble over my words and I'm not a very good practicer. I'm not a good practicer. I stumble over words. What did we learn? Think about it. I hope you learned something. We learned how to reuse the parent class code when we override methods. Okay, so we override a method, and not only do we get to change it, we can reuse what the parent class has, and that helps us in our maintenance. Oh, because that helps us in our maintenance. We get stuff for free. How do you like that? I love this slide. Too bad I can't talk about it well.